Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to a special presentation of the Codex Station Presents. My name is Tim. This guy over here is Jamie, and down below is A.L. Kaplan, artist for Boom Studios Maw and cover artist for DC Comics. Alan, how you doing today?
I'm doing great. Sweaty but excited. Good to be here again chatting.
If you guys were here for the pre-show, you'll know what that means. If not, then I guess you're out of the loop. Before we get started, let's get the business out of the way. Ladies and gentlemen, you know what I'm going to say. Find us on all the socials, including podcast streaming platforms. All you got to do is type in the Codex Station, and that is where we will be. We also have merchandise that Jamie is sporting right now. That link will be in the description below on YouTube and in chat on Twitch. Alan, how can people find you and follow you on social media?
Yeah, you can find me on social media at ALK Comics and at my portfolio, alkcomics.com. And in stores, I think I have some books on shelves. I think the collection of Maw just came out on Friday. So
That's
in person and online.
That was actually sold out too for me.
Oh, shit. Hey, that feels good.
Yeah, I have the single issues. I don't have the collection. And with all the comics I got, I can't really just be like, I can dig through 40 boxes and grab them. No, I want the collection too.
But you do have one comic, Jamie,
Yes,
that's
I
on
do.
store shelves right now.
The last one.
Yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, that is the B variant cover for Superman, Son of Kal-El, number 13. That is on store shelves now. So by all means, go ahead and pick that awesomeness up.
Spend that money on this. It's worth every penny.
Sparkly Superman.
There you go. Alan, the first question I want to throw your way is, what are you reading currently? Like, what's on your pull list? What type of stories are you into, and what would you recommend to people right now?
Yeah, I mean, right now I'm actually reading a lot of nonfiction about deep sea stuff. So I know it's not comics, but I gotta just shout out because Maw has a lot of cool deep sea fish imagery. If y'all are interested in that, Below the Edge of Darkness is a memoir and book by Edith Witter, who's a deep sea biologist. Real cool, wonderful writing style, super fun if you're interested in like optics and how bioluminescence works and just cool deep sea shit. Gotta recommend it. It was a great book.
That's awesome.
Yeah, not on my pull list, not in other bookstores. But I've been loving everything Granvi and Mike Perkins have been doing at Swamp Thing. It's their runs have been fantastic.
I was surprised by that.
So Swamp Thing's what you're reading right now?
Swamp Thing, and I also gotta just say I'm a big fan of all the X comics right now. Just like the entire line is great, but Immortal X-Men, Kieran Gillen and Lucas Vernick are knocking out of the park. And
you and Tone would have a lot to talk about.
Yeah,
I feel like you shouldn't have sold me on the pre-show.
Yeah,
and then man's gotta eat.
I feel like I also have a Patreon pull list. I've been following Liz Suburbia and CJ Jockin and just everything, getting first glimpses at everything they're putting out, and I gotta recommend if you like their work.
That is awesome. Right on. Okay.
Well, yeah, you were talking about the deep sea kind of things. I seen water.
Yeah.
And I just the first question I actually have for you, was Webtoons your first creative way into comics, or was it just kind of like for fun at the beginning, or was this trying to push to be further into this career?
Yeah, I mean, okay, I think I did my first webcomic in 2004. I was a child, and it's accessibility, right? I had a pencil, paper, and a scanner, and a free hosting site. Whatever it was,
like GeoCities or Angel Fire or whatever it was.
It was something like that. Yeah. No one could stop me, so I do whatever. In terms of telling stories yourself, that was about the early 2000s. So zine culture was a little phased out at that point. So to go to a copy machine and make copies and give them to people, I was a shy, nerdy kid. I couldn't do that. That cost money, but I could definitely scan shit and put it up online, right? So it was webcomics were definitely just if I wanted to tell a story, I couldn't make a movie, but I could do this, right?
Did you ever get into Homestuck when that was popular on MS Paint Adventures?
I didn't. I've totally missed out on. I think I was I went to college at UC Santa Cruz, and I kind of like dipped out of the internet for a while in like the late aughts and early 2010s, which is I think when Homestuck was happening. So I managed to like fall off the face of the internet when during that. But
if you want
cool
if
like,
you want a story that is amazingly in depth, like Stephen King in depth description of trees and things like that, check out Homestuck. It's worth the time.
It seems fun. I have a kind of creator buddy, Aisha Ufera, does some writing for some of the post Homestuck stuff. I'm not exactly sure what it is, but everything she writes is great. So I'm just like, well, if she's handling it, I'm sure it's great.
Well, let me ask you this, like with the webtoon stuff, was there I know like you said, like it was a complete and total free outlet, but were there things that you really got invested in during the time you were doing webtoons before you were given the opportunity or had the opportunity to go into a profession as an artist?
Yeah, I don't know, because webcomics are such a weird mix of like, even if you look at right now, if you look at any given webcomic, it could be a professional team putting it, like DC does like they have webtoons that like okay, professionals making these, or it could be another 14-year-old, like, you don't know what you're going to get. And to me, that is pretty awesome about it. And so there was like throughout I didn't do webcomics consistently since like 2002 or something, but like I've kind of done them on and off since then. And so with every kind of era, I kind of tipped my toes and it was always different. Where like early on, there was like topwebcomics.com was some big link aggregator because it's all pre-social media. So I remember like always making little animated gifs of my characters being like, vote every day. And then like gifs for like, oh, if I get 500 votes, I'll draw this picture or whatever. And like, I spent so much time doing that in like late middle school and early high school. And like, nowadays I don't do any of that shit, but that also doesn't exist anymore.
Right. That's very
the
true.
More recent stuff has been, like, okay, well, I'm kind of an adult now and I can pay to get books printed. So with the last webcomic that I did, it was a lot of just like, okay, print every time I finish an issue, print out a book, and then I'd take books and table at comic book conventions to try to like, sell physical copies to people and also maybe get attentions of like editors and agents. And that didn't necessarily work, but I mean, I haven't gotten that work published, but some amount of that has obviously helped me get where I am. Like it's at least a building, right? It's like, oh, this guy has, he has like 500 pages of webcomic. He can do this, even if they don't want that work, right? So it's, if you want any sort of creative professional job, like you have to do the work. And especially with comics, like you can't get a job in comics if you don't do comics. And webcomics is by no means an easy way in or the only way in, but it's very indirect. And I assume that's how the editors follow me. But that's maybe a good question for an editor. I have really no idea how they found me.
Right on. Okay. Well, let's talk about Maw. Jamie, do you want to take that first question there?
Oh, of course I do. So one of the things that I wanted to know, especially with independent comics, I know a lot of teams, when they come together, there's two different ways they can come about is, being unified and being friends. And they're like, hey, I want this person on art, or I want this person on pencils or colors or whatever. And there's other times where they pick and choose. Now with Maw, was this something that came together as we got a team, or did everyone kind of know each other in a way going into it?
Yeah, so I only have half the story because the answer is it wasn't, Jude and I didn't kind of like spitball and pitch this together. So maybe that's the right answer, but I don't know. I got a kind of a call early on by the editor, Allison at Boom, because I worked with her on The Storyteller. And, so she's like, hey, I got this horror comic, here's kind of the basic pitch. Do you want to work on it? The writer likes your work or what, like whatever they say to try to entice you. I looked at it like, hey, this seems awesome, but like, I gotta say, you might want to have a woman draw this because it's so much about women's issues. I don't want to speak over people. And it's like, I would love to work on this, but like it'll make me feel more comfortable if you consider someone else, or at least make sure the rest of the creative team is female. And so like it took a while. Like, I didn't hear back for like a couple months. I was like, okay, they probably made the good decision to go with someone else, but they ended up coming back. So there was something in my work that they liked, or that Jude saw, that wanted to, continue collaborating with. I don't know what their side of the story is. I haven't asked. I'm a little scared to, just
right.
poke that, but
Yeah.
Jude's writing in Maw was absolutely fantastic. And when I spoke with Jude before on our one shot, I let him know that. And it was just so wonderful, the story that was told. I mean, it was horrific, it was tragic, but it was a
Yes.
great series that was written, and your artwork on Maw really helped push the visual representation of what everybody was seeing on that, and it was absolutely fantastic.
Well, Tim, real fast, I did want to piggyback off of that, and it's one key note that I've had since reading Maul when it came out was one of the things I love is art in a book, no matter what. I love a good storytelling through the art as well, not just the letters on the page. And the emotion that was shown in each panel that you had, whether it was Marion laying down or crouching or in her face, and it just you felt that emotion. And I gotta say, for the first time in probably 10 years of reading comics, that's the first time I ever felt like emotionally attached to a character again, and that emotion came out through that. So I wanted to give you so much props on that one. I loved seeing every panel. Like, it was the first time in a very long time I actually paid attention to every single panel. And
now,
not just
we
the words.
were talking about that right before you came in, Alan. We were discussing about the emotion on page, and I believe when I was doing my reviews as the issues were coming out, that was a big selling point for me.
yeah, well, I mean, thank you guys. Like, that's, like, that's very validating with it, because it's Maul was my first time really telling someone else's story. I worked with the storyteller, but my sister wrote that and we kind of collaborated on it, and it was a retelling of a myth, so whatever. And that was fun. But I didn't really know Jude before this. I read some of their articles, but not just personally. So it's my first time telling someone else's story, and I, especially given the subject matter, like, I really wanted to respect what they were doing and trying to like make sure that, not only writing the script as it was written, but just make sure that like the underlying emotions and ideas Jude is trying to get across, like, that was paramount. Everything else,
Right.
Framing, it doesn't, like, I can go off script as long as the emotions are there, because that's the core of the story. If you don't connect with it, then it just, it's a flop, right? It's like cool visuals and who cares, but this is a story that had so much like real pain that I couldn't directly identify with, so I really wanted to respect it, because it was, personal for so many other people.
Right.
There was one panel in particular, real fast, that struck me and it caught my eye so much, was right after everything that happened with Marion, right before the whole transformation process started occurring. She was talking to Wendy, and Wendy's like, that you got to have a way out. You got to talk about this. I tried helping you. And then that panel is just her, and she's staring at Wendy, but you see the distraught in her eyes. Like, I don't need to tell you anything. And you just felt that. And that, like I said, that's something that I really wanted to bring into here and just tell you, like, it sold me and has me telling everyone to buy this. So,
oh yeah, the visual storytelling and the written word, when they work together, they really work together. And I know we're singing praise in the choir right now, but I mean, it fits for this. Yeah. It absolutely works. And I want to talk a little bit more about visual representation, and specifically going into like monster concepts for Moss. So were there different designs for monster concepts, or did it all come together on the first try?
Yeah, that, yes, I'm working on a current horror project where like the monster concepts are just going through like revision after revision and all this sort of stuff. With Ma, I think Jude had a really clear vision for what they wanted, of just like, that seemed to me very baked into like what the core of the story was. So they had some really important, this whole thing about like the growing up on the East Coast, and there's a specific type of crab that freaked them out as a child because they were like huge and all over the beach, and like they're probably just a small little crab. But so there's a lot of just like hearing that personal stuff. It's like, okay, I'm emphasizing crabs because you want me to emphasize crabs, but I know why I'm doing it, and that's that personal aspect to it. So because Jude had such a strong vision for it, that helped me like know what to do and how to guide it to, again, make sure I'm telling their story as good as I can.
Okay, so like with the monster concepts and things like that, were there more revisions or less revisions as you were creating that?
Yeah, I don't remember there being any revisions for Ma. I think some of it was like, I think I connected with what Jude's vision was. I'm also a huge nerd for deep sea fish and stuff like that. So it's like there was like, oh, make it look kind of like this fish. I'm like, oh yeah, like I know what that fish is. I love that fish. So there was a bit of a connection on that front. And then I think there was also some kind of trusting of, Jude was like, all right, that looks cool. I don't like whatever, like kind of enjoying where I took things when I did a little bit off script. So to me, it was a very wonderful collaboration where, I feel like as long as like the emotion and the ideas were expressed, there was that kind of creative freedom on both ends.
That is so awesome that you were able to just kind of let it flow and get crazy with the designs, and it really shows, with your love of deep sea and things like that. It comes through in the artwork.
Yes, and that progression from start to finish was just flawless at that point to me. Like it was, to me, it's gonna sound a little bit more nerdy too. It was like a Pokemon evolution. Like you knew exactly what was coming next.
What is the one Pokemon that looks like the eel? I don't know.
Gyarados.
Maybe.
Well, there's actually a deep sea anglerfish Pokemon, which I know now because that's actually my day job is working for Pokemon, and I've been trying to figure out like a way to combine this. Like I draw horror comics and I work for Pokemon, and you just gave me a really wonderful connection, and thank you, because I've been trying to tie that together.
That was not planned by any means, but I was thinking about it. I'm like, it was like a great evolution.
You heard it here first, ladies and gentlemen.
Get your Pikachu bath mats.
Oh my god.
But yeah, it's cool to hear about the monsters. It was very like at first I was like, yeah, I got this, whatever. And then about halfway through, I had this. There's a lot of artists like Abigail Harding did like an incredible, like my favorite cover from Ma, which is just like the black and white gorgeous monster. And I was like, they're an artist who like that their whole specialty is drawing cool monsters. And after I saw that, I was like, oh god, like I like monsters, I love horror, but I don't just sit around and like draw monsters constantly. So there was a bit of just like, I'd imposter syndrome hitting me real hard. So I'm glad some amount of it was effective because it was a little nervous.
Right on. Okay.
Yeah. So I'm gonna take it off with the next question here too. Now I've seen the interior work on most of what you've done so far, and it's been great. I had this question because I never had a chance to really dig deeper into it. Is there a real difference between doing interiors and a cover in the aspect of like how it goes back and forth? Yeah. Like, is there a lot more going into a cover than interiors, or is there more pressure vice versa?
Yeah, it's an interesting question. And, I think every editor relationship is going to be different. So it really depends on who's giving you the work.
Right.
And, in general, working on Ma, there was a lot of creative freedom given to me, and I had a good working relationship with those editors. So I felt like we were communicating. I knew what Jude wanted. I knew what the editors wanted. And same thing with the Paul, the editor at DC I've been doing the covers with. He's just like, here's a concept, here's a deadline. I'll send a couple sketches, and he tells me which one, and then I send it in, and there's no notes on it. Which I don't know if that's normal, but in general, covers. I'm not a main cover artist on anything, and there might be more like, this needs to be a little tighten this right here. But as a variant cover artist, it seems more like they're just commissioning art from an artist. So like if it's a little, if it's a little off, it's a little off. So I'm not with interior artwork. I send in layouts for the entire issue, and the layouts have to be approved. And there's maybe revisions on the layouts, and then I send in inks, and they have to be approved, and there's maybe revisions on the inks. So there's so much more back and forth that goes into the interiors than there has been for covers. But I don't know if that's the case for like if you're the main cover artist for a series.
Okay.
It might be that like, here's my concept for all 5 issues. They have to okay the concept, and there might be more revisions that way.
Okay. Well, let's stick with covers for a minute. So with doing variant covers for DC, now, Jamie, would you mind to show Son of Kal-El number 13 again so people
every
can
time
see that?
Yeah, I'll hold this up the whole time. You don't even need to look at my face anymore.
How did this happen? How did this process come about? When did the phone call or email take place where they asked you to come on board and do variant covers for DC?
Yeah, it was after Ma. But not so maybe ooh man, April maybe, like, so
Ooh.
I guess I finished drawing Mob, but way before it finished getting published. But I think this was after, so it was more, I think it was this spring.
Okay.
So I imagine it had to do with like, okay, my name has been on stuff that's on a shelf that is that that gets people's attention, and
That's selling pretty well.
Yes.
that's good to hear. I don't know. I'm not like good enough at this business to like, I'm not given sales numbers, but I don't own the project, which is maybe why I'm not giving them, but I also don't know where to look those up. So I'm like, I hear it's selling, but I don't know. So it's I'll take your word for it. But yeah, it was kind of one of those just emails out of nowhere that I had to double check, just like, am I dreaming? Is this how this happens? And
does that really say DC Comics? Yes, it does. Okay.
But I've been, kind of, I don't know, having some, going through some life stuff and trying to like quit my day job of about like 8 years, and really wanted cover artwork jobs because you get paid more for less work. It's great and it's fun. You just like do one cool illustration. So I really wanted to do some covers because I didn't, do any on Ma. And so I was, I did some more kind of just like, if I'm going to post art on social media, like make it in the shape of a cover, like just again, do the work to get comics work. You need to show you can do it. So like do more illustrations that are kind of composed like a cover, and made my portfolio, redid my portfolio website, which, because I'd had the same day job forever, needed updating. So it was a lot of kind of, there was stuff behind the scenes I did. And after I did that, a while later, I got the email. So I feel validated by doing all that work, but so all of it is just so, I'm not transparent on my end that I can't, I'm drawing more connections between those things that I think maybe exist. But
From what we talked about off camera before the pre-show, guys, we were hanging out for a good 30 minutes before the pre-show, and Alan, you said it wasn't DC characters that got their attention, it was a Marvel character or Marvel characters.
Yeah, the again, big X-Men fan, re-pull list. I was just loving the X-Men Inferno arc. They brought Destiny back, and this finally, after years of publication, they can finally have like Mystique and Destiny be like a couple on panel instead of all subtext.
Yeah.
And like, they brought her back finally. It was one of those, like, through childhood, she was like a mythical character because she was like dead the entire publication history. So I just
big helmet,
coolest design ever. And then like, I've always loved Mystique because you can't not love Mystique. She's great.
Yeah.
Skull belt, a skull on her forehead. She rules. So I was like, okay, I gotta draw really cool Mystique and Destiny pieces. I'm so hyped on this. And so I was like, okay, but compose it like a cover. Like, what if I were doing a cover for X-Men Inferno? So it's like, okay, draw it that way. And that was I like to think that got me the job. I don't know if it did, but I had to. I just had DC to get a quote for the cover. So it played some part.
Right on.
But yeah, no, that just the way it shows, like, and I think we talked about this a little bit earlier, is your art style, like I said, just so unique that you can. I literally picked that Son of Kal-El right off the shelf, and I was like, is that Kaplan? Like, it was one of those moments where I was just like, I know what I'm doing finally. Like, I know who this is. Like,
just follow the sparkles.
Well, Kaplan, let me ask you, what is on the horizon for you right now? Like Son of Kal-El is out on shelves. The collected edition of Ma is out on shelves. Jamie, you said that that's sold out.
Oh God,
yeah,
and Ma was gone.
So what is on the radar? Like, what projects can you talk about that you have finished or are currently working on, including DC covers?
Yeah, I got another variant for DC for Batman Superman World's Finest #10 variant coming out at some point this year, and a holiday variant that I can't talk about coming out later, and then a cover for Power Rangers on 104 featuring.
Very excited for that one.
The Evil Queen. And most excitedly, I'm working on a new project for Boom. It did get announced, so I can talk about it. It's on shelves in September. It is written by R.L. Stine. It's a kind of his take on the Frankenstein sort of myth. So it should be a fun, kind of nod to EC horror comic sort of, fun.
You're the
gruesome.
main artist on that?
I am.
Now,
And
is that Stuff of Nightmares?
It is. Yeah.
I was gonna ask you about that.
Thank you.
I was gonna ask you about that and be like, I seen the layouts on your website, and I was like, I am sold. Like, and it was already solicited, so I was like, okay, we could talk about this. Other stuff, maybe not so much, but this is something that I was really, really digging deep into, trying to find out more about, because, like you said, R.L. Stine, like that's got to be, like, to me, that would feel like a great like accomplishment, I would say, or a great feat to have in the industry, is working off of him.
Yeah, it definitely felt cool. It's like, all right. I mean, I grew up having Goosebumps read to me. You know, I have a soft spot for this. You know, so I love all types of horror. You know, give me the. I saw Nope twice in the last 2 days.
is it
Great
good?
movie. Oh, it's like it fills the Tremors shaped hole in my heart. It's great.
Oh my God. Okay. I'm going tomorrow to see that.
You
I've
should
been seeing
definitely
the,
watch it. It fucking rules.
I've
But I
been
also
seeing
love
the
like real
trailers.
shitty horror too. So like I like it all. So I was like, all right, you know, he's never written, this is his first like adult thing too. He's never written Frankenstein. I'm like, hey, this should be fun. And you know, I didn't, unlike Ma, I got all the scripts up front. And you know, it was collaborative working with Jude. This is very, I don't talk to him, I talk through editors. I get the
Wow.
script, I get every issue script as the issues progress. So I don't know where the story's going. So it's a really, really different process. But you know, fun stuff to work through, and you know, get to draw splatters.
Is that a challenge to do, like with the process with Ma, where it was very communicative between you and Jude, like working with R.L. Stine, and you have to communicate through editors or get the pages as they're finished? Is that a challenge? Is that different to work that way?
It definitely is. And I mean, I think every creative, it's a different editorial team too. So I'd never worked with those editors. Same publishing company, but different editorial team, different writer. So with every project, there's always kind of like a getting to figure out how everyone works and how to communicate.
Okay.
So I'm drawing issue three of 4 issues right now. And so like the communication, we're figuring stuff out as we go along, but it's been really different. The amount of not seeing, I had a lot of fun with Ma because I knew, like, having read the whole thing, I knew what Jude was doing. I knew what I could kind of like pepper in some imagery, or kind of do, you know, foreshadowing to like stage things like they'd be staged later to give all this sort of stuff. But I don't have that visibility in this, so I'm not able to do that or see if he's doing that. So it's a very different process in that way, but you know, not necessarily in a bad way, just it's
Right.
very different. Yeah.
That's awesome though. That's really awesome.
Yeah.
You get to work 2 different ways, and I guess in that sense it challenges you, but it gives you the opportunity to rise to that challenge, and
you learn from it, which is the biggest aspect of it.
Absolutely. I've definitely learned a lot about my own process and about other people's processes. And so it's been fun through that to just, you know, grow, get better at stuff.
That's great. I got one more question for you, Jamie. I know you got 1 or 2 more, but if you had speaking of, you know, doing artwork and things like that, if you had the opportunity to draw or work on any series or characters that are or have been in comics, who would those be?
I mean, I guess I gotta say X-Men. You know, I don't want that pressure, you know, because it's not necessary. They're not trying to write comics for comics fans exclusively, but there is such as a longtime X-Men fan myself, there is such a huge fan base that's very connected to the characters. And I know there gets to be like backlash when things are drawn differently. And I'm not a big superhero pinup sort of person. So there's an aspect of, you know, how characters are drawn and designed that I don't exactly jive with. So I'm not sure I would ever be the person to do interiors for X-Men, but oh my God, I would love it. I'd love to do New Mutants or Immortal or anything with my favorite characters.
Right on. Okay.
Yeah,
Jamie?
So, yeah, I got one more. We'll kind of square it off after this, and it's fairly simple, I think. Maybe not, but we'll go with it. Because I've said before, your style is so unique. You could pick it out, and that's what I love about it. Now, was there anyone that when you started that you kind of looked at and was like, that's it? like this is what I want to do, but I don't want to be like them. I want to be like me?
Yeah, I mean, I think like I like to think of style as kind of like a gross, but like a bubblegum ball, right? Or just like, oh, I like this. It's like you chew it up and you kind of filter it through what you like, and then you spit it out and you kind of attach it to all the other shit you like. And so at some point, like the more things you take in, the more kind of like maybe that's what a unique style is it's just less traceable because you have a bunch of influences. So, you know, there's
A bunch of
and
different flavors.
yeah. And drawing in general, right? It's like it's a way of seeing the world and like making sense of it and making it my own, right? So everything's kind of like my tune up through me, you know. So like I read all sorts of comics, you know, like obviously I keep talking about X-Men, you know, so that, but I read lots of manga as well, and like artists like Clamp and oh my god, I'm just spacing out everyone's names, but Hagiomoto and like Nako Takeuchi. Like when I saw the Sailor Moon comics in like fourth grade, it blew my mind because I'm used to like X-Men, which is like hard, kind of jagged lines, and just seeing like a comic that was drawn so like light and beautiful. And there was just so much like weird sparkle and flow to it. I was like, I didn't realize comics could do that. It was just one of those like broke my brain in a good way. And then, you know, loving like Paul Pope and Mike Mignola and all that sort of stuff. And then
Yes,
like so much influence through film, like anything Kunihiko Ikuhara directs, like Dario Argento, David Lynch, Tarkovsky, like everything. I like so much inspiration from them as well.
well, I think like when you get used to the mainstream stuff like X-Men and Spider-Man and Superman and Batman and things like that, when you take the turn to stuff that's less well known or more independent, it's kind of a culture shock a little bit to see the difference in, you know, the hard jagged lines, and then like artwork like yours on Ma. It's just such a different view through the same window, you know what I mean? And it's just awesome to be able to see that and to enjoy that as part of the story. Yeah,
thank you.
Yeah, no problem. So before we get out of here, Alan, do you have any advice or anything like that that you would give to upcoming artists or people that are aspiring to want to be in the comics industry?
Yeah, I mean, it's just worth saying that there's no creative careers are never direct. There's never one way in. It's not like medical school where you follow the steps and there's a nicely paying job waiting for you and people that need it. So creative careers, you have to just kind of look for opportunities and make as many opportunities you can, and take opportunities that feel good but maybe aren't exactly what you want, that maybe get you a little closer, because you never know what doors those are going to open. And but also say no to things that are not going to get you the right, there's a lot of learning there. And it just, above all, you do have to do the work, whether that's just drawing little joke comics, sharing them with your friends, or if it's posting a web comic, or if it's trying to just, sell stuff at conventions, or, being visible helps a lot. Of agents, editors, and publishing houses do have formal ways in where they'll have portfolio reviews at conventions. Now that COVID restrictions are lessening, those might start up again. In the meantime, there's a lot, like if you follow them on Twitter, like look up who's an editor, who's an agent, who's a publisher, like who's making the books you want, who do your, idols, who are their editors, who made a book that you like. Follow those people, because they'll host, portfolio reviews online. They'll talk about when to communicate and how to communicate with them, because there are formal ways to, you can send in your portfolio to editors and be like, give me cover work. I want it. Here's my work. That's a very direct way in. It's worked for some people, so there's lots of different ways. And, just, it kind of depends on what style works for you. If you hate Twitter, don't necessarily force yourself to use it, but a lot of the publishing world is on Twitter way too much. So it's more helpful post in there than Facebook for me. But, if Twitter sucks for you, then I don't want to, you don't need it to get the job. So
right on. Okay, Jamie, you got anything else?
Just thank you again for joining us today. I know you're in the middle of the move, and taking the time out for us, it means so much. So thank you again, Alan, for joining us today.
Yeah, always a pleasure. Oh my gosh. Always a pleasure to chat.
It's that Greek wine in the mason jar. That's what it is.
Cheers.
Absolutely. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for joining us tonight for this presentation of an interview with A.L. Kaplan. It has been an absolute pleasure to get down or to sit down and talk with you again, Alan and Jamie, having you here bouncing questions back and forth. This has been a blast. May I ask if you would like to come back in the future for another conversation?
Absolutely. I just got to find more of this wine.
Done. Maybe we'll get you to come on an episode of After Dark or something like that and sit down, and Tone will have his Glenlivets and I'll get water or beer and then we'll just go to town. And Jamie, you'll have Mike's Hard Lemonade.
Yeah, there you go. I just got these because this was the closest thing I could find.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, before we get out of here, Alan, please let people know how they can find you on social media and any websites that you have that you want people to check out.
Yeah, you can find me. I'm most active on, I'm not very active. I'm on Twitter and Instagram at ALK Comics. And on I post everything on my portfolio site at alkcomics.com.
Right on. Guys, that will be in chat here on Twitch and in the description on YouTube if you're watching it there. Jamie, do you have anything else to say to our wonderful viewing audience before we get out of here?
Yeah, just the same old, guys. Thank you again for, tuning in, seeing what we have for you guys. We do this because we love it, and we also want to give you guys the greatest content we possibly can. As always, be kind to one another out there. You never know what anyone's going through, and even making someone smile could change the perspective of their day or life. So always be kind. And guys, I will see you and Alan hopefully in the next one.
Absolutely. Yes. And guys, you know what's coming my way. I'm going to give you the business and then we're going to hit the road. Don't forget to find us on all the social medias: Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Twitch, TikTok, YouTube, Discord, and on podcast streaming platforms. All you got to do is type in the Codex Station, and that is where we will be. We also have merchandise, Jamie. There we go. There it is. If you want to look as cool as that guy, go ahead and click the link in chat or in the description on YouTube and get your sweet Codex swag so you can be awesome and cool. At the Codex Station. Guys, my name is Tim. This guy over here is Jamie. Down below is the awesome and talented A.L. Kaplan, artist for Boom Studios Maw and cover artist for DC Comics. This is the Codex Station, and we will see you next time.